Hello there. Welcome to my views and news. Is Ethiopia going to collapse? Is it going to disintegrate? This question is asked in almost each and every live chat session. Viewers ask this question. I've been addressing this question for 2 years. I think it was May 2021 when I did a video about this question. Again, today, I want to speak in detail about the likelihood of disintegration of Ethiopia. Is Ethiopia on the verge of disintegration, or some people, some groups want it to disintegrate? So they turn their wishes into analysis. Now, why do countries disintegrate? Question is, which factors lead to disintegration of countries? First main factor is uh, if a country is homogeneous or not. Second factor is nationalism. Strong sense of nationalism in some groups in a country. Thirdly, internal circumstances. Fourthly, external circumstances. Mainly, there are other factors too. Mainly, these factors lead to, or they help disintegration of a country. Let's judge Ethiopia on these four criteria, and then we'll conclude whether Ethiopia is going to disintegrate or not. Homogeneous. The countries which are homogeneous obviously are not likely to disintegrate because they have one race, one ethnic group, one religion. They're united. But almost all countries are not homogeneous. Each country has different races, different ethnicities, different religions. So if Ethiopia has 80 or more than 80 ethnic groups, it shouldn't be seen as a factor which could lead to disintegration. Several other countries have similar ethnic structure. They have dozens of ethnic groups, several races, several religions, and still the countries are united. So this factor should not be seen as a key factor in disintegration of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is home to 80 or more than 80 ethnic groups, firstly. Secondly, second factor is very important. Strong sense of nationalism. Are there some groups in Ethiopia which have a strong sense of nationalism and they want to have a separate country? Let's analyze Ethiopian ethnic groups and armed factions which are nationalist. Which groups want to form separate countries? TPLF tried that. Not TPLF, but some groups in Tigray wanted a separate Tigray country. Tigray Independence Party and others, they have been advocating for a separate Tigray country. And Tigray nationalism was one of the causes or one of the factors in the war between Tigray Defense Force and Ethiopian military. But TPLF never took a position in support of a separate Tigray country. So groups in Tigray now are on the back foot and they don't express this desire now. And I think Ethiopian PM Abiy at a speech in parliament said a few weeks ago that TPLF agreed to abandon its call for independence. And after that, Pretoria was signed. So basically, there is no strong call for nationalism and sense of nationalism in Tigray. There are some groups which support an independent Tigray country, Tigrayan diaspora too, but we cannot say that this was the main force leading to the war between Tigray and federal government, that people of Tigray wanted to be an independent country. No. TPLF never took this position publicly. What about Amhara? Amhara nationalism is a new phenomenon. Amharas believe they are heirs to Ethiopia. So they want to be in charge of entire Ethiopia. Why would they just restrict themselves to Amhara region, only Amhara country? Amhara nationalism, I don't think it's a driving force behind Fano's operations, etc. Oromo nationalism is Oromoma is what people say is a sign of expansionist ideology of Oromos. But Oromos are in power in Ethiopia now. They believe this is their turn to rule. Why would they just want to be restricted to Oromia only while they can rule the entire Ethiopian territories? They're happy with this new arrangement, by the way. So no signs of any strong nationalist movement in Oromia. Somali nationalism is a threat to all the countries where Somalis live. Somalis live in Somaliland, so in Somalia, in Ethiopia mainly, and Somali nationalism will not be tolerated because it will lead to disintegration of all the countries. Afar nationalism, again, a threat to all the countries. Afars in Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea. So no country is going to support Afar nationalism too. They will lead to complete disintegration of the entire region. These are main groups in Ethiopia, main ethnic groups. You see that I don't think there is any major ethnic group which has a strong sense of nationalism, and the group is working, struggling to form a separate country. What about armed factions, armed groups? Ola never calls for independence of Oromia. It always says that its manifesto is about self-determination and that people should decide what to do, what should be the future of Oromia. Fano, as I said earlier, I don't think Fano is a nationalist movement. Fano wants to reach Addis Ababa, rule entire Ethiopia, and in collaboration with other groups. Tigray I mentioned. So I don't think there is any Ethiopian ethnic group now which is a strong sense of nationalism which could lead towards a disintegration of the country. I'm talking about present. I'm not talking about coming years or decades. Thirdly, internal situation. When some groups in Tigray called for independence of Tigray, you saw entire Ethiopia united against those groups. And TPLF could not take this position publicly that it wanted a separate country. Internally, if one Ethiopian group today announces independence, others will unite against this group. You'll see that. Why? Because no one would like one ethnic group to have a country of its own. And internally, we cannot say that Ethiopia is collapsing economically and in terms of its security structure. No, it's not collapsing. Ethiopian military can bind the country together. It is in a position to hold the country together. Economically, yes, challenges are there. There are problems, but some countries in worse condition than Ethiopia economically are surviving. They are united. So if Ethiopia is defaulting on Eurobond interest payment, it does not mean they have to disintegrate. No. Internally, still Ethiopian institutions can keep Ethiopia united. There is no complete collapse of Ethiopian institutions. Though you can talk about the need of reforms here, no true democracy here, no freedom of media, no independence of judiciary. Yes, a lot needs to be done. It does not mean that everything has collapsed and the country is on the verge of disintegration. No. Internally, a movement for a separate country by one ethnic group or one regional state is not going to succeed. Rather, it will lead to entire Ethiopia stand behind the other parties to crush that group which wants independence. Externally, are regional, global circumstances favorable for the disintegration of Ethiopia? No. Regionally, Ethiopia's breakup would mean breakup of the Horn of Africa, breakup of East Africa. Such movements will intensify other countries too. No one is going to support disintegration of Ethiopia. No regional neighbor, no country in Africa, no global power is going to support. The global powers only want to protect their interests. If an Ethiopian ethnic group is ready to protect their interests, they'll be ready to recognize it. But still, uh, keeping in view the strong opposition to disintegration of Ethiopia from uh, regional labors, global powers, we can say that globally, disintegration of Ethiopia is not going to be acceptable. Somaliland could not get recognition so far. You saw that. It's trying to be recognized. So how can an Ethiopian country, new country in Ethiopia, be recognized? Recognition, acceptance, regionally, internationally, is a key issue. And this acceptance is not going to come. So we can say that regionally and globally, circumstances are not favorable for disintegration of Ethiopia. How to conclude then? Well, uh, I can conclude about the present. What will happen after 10 years? We don't know. Maybe after 10 years, 20 years, there could be big changes in Ethiopia, new country. We don't know. We're talking about present, coming days, coming weeks, coming months. That is what we are talking about. What Ethiopian government is doing is not uniting the country. That is clear. Government's actions are creating splits. Trust is missing between ethnic groups, between federation and regions. Ethnic federalism replaced by centralized government, both experiments not working. True democracy nowhere to be seen. One party rule. Eritrea, one man rule. Ethiopia, one party rule. One party ruling in collaboration with military. No true independent, democratic, transparent institutions of accountability, of justice delivery, etc. in Ethiopia. No true reforms which could lead towards rapprochement between ethnic groups. National Consultative Commission formed around 2 years ago, which has done nothing, boycotted by political parties, armed factions. Nothing has been done by this commission so far. One conflict resolved in Tigray provisionally for the time being. Key issues still unresolved there. Talks between Ola government failed twice. Third round could start. No talks between Fano and government. So what is happening is not pointing towards a more united Ethiopia. We can say government failed to unite Ethiopians. Ethiopia is in need of something new. Something new in terms of system of government, political system of running the country. That system can only be introduced if all players are ready to sit at the table with an open mind, ready to listen to each other, address each other's grievances, and reach a common ground. So far, that approach is missing. It is not happening. Rather, government wants to crush armed factions. Armed factions want to achieve their objectives by a gun. So maybe after a few years or decades, we could see a weaker Ethiopia and we could talk about disintegration. Now, we can conclude Ethiopia is getting weaker. That is, we can say. No development is pointing towards a more united Ethiopia. Government failed. But we cannot say that in coming days, months, weeks, Ethiopia is going to split up. No, it won't happen. Thanks for watching.